welcome to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Jackie Hermans. So we have a really exciting show. How many of you are movie buffs? Because I have an amazing film critic. You might have seen him before. At least he has his own show, and he's been on my show several times. Eric Marchin will be in the house, and we're not only going to be talking about the Oscars, which are taking place in March, but we're also talking about films to look out for in 2024. Every time I meet with Eric, I start gaining a list of all the movies that I haven't seen, I need to see, and then the ones I need to look out for. So, hey, get a pen and paper and start writing your list of the movies for you to get your popcorn out and get your loved ones and have some fun. So keep on watching. We'll be back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen, host of Photos and Travel, where we bring the world to your doorstep. In our next episode, we're going to explore several cities throughout Germany, including Berlin and a fairy tale castle. Join us right here on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I have Eric Marchin in the house. Now, he is the host of Cinema Scene with Rogers TV. And I love it when we have you on the show because you update me on what is going on with films. And we have the Oscars that are coming up on March the 10th.
Yep.
I have no clue who's nominated, what's been nominated, what should have been nominated. Like, you are going to get us up to date on that.
I hope so. It's a tricky field to navigate sometimes because, like you said, you know, movies that are nominated aren't always everybody's favorite. There's always going to be a division there. You can't always make everyone happy when it comes to nominations.
Okay, I want to ask you about that because how do they figure out who was the best for that and what movie was the best for that? Is it just based on what the professionals say, or do they take it? I don't know why the professionals have accent.
Well, they have to. They're professionals.
They're professionals. Or is it because of what the audience says, what the viewership is like? That was awesome, and ticket sales. Like, how do they determine all that?
Well, I think it comes down to a couple of factors. One being the Academy in particular is a group of members that work within the industry. So it's actors voting for actors, directors voting for directors in those branches. Every branch votes for Best Picture. So everybody's voting in that category, but it's your peers, basically, that are voting for you in the individual categories. The other important aspect of what is good or what is bad, it's all subjective at the end of the day, but it's whether or not you have a strong campaign and a PR team behind your work. So if you have a movie like, say, Oppenheimer, which is nominated for 13 Academy Awards, you have a major studio in Universal backing the film. And it doesn't hurt that the movie over the summer, the Barbenheimer phenomenon, was a huge success. So both Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Okay, I like how you did that, the Barbenheimer.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
very creative.
Well, that was the big thing during the summer, And not only was it a success financially, because both films, made more money than they expected to, and they both kind of helped each other, because a lot of people would go to the theaters dressed in pink and black and do double features with both of those films, but they were critical successes. And so you saw that translate into the award season. So Oppenheimer's been nominated for 13 Academy Awards, Barbie's been nominated for 8, but there's that conversation where, what is the omission here? So Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie, was not nominated for Best Director, and neither was the star, Margot Robbie, in Actress in a Leading Role. And that has created a little bit of tension with fans and people that love the movie that aren't voters per se, because that is the criticism every year, is that someone misses in a category, and it's like, well, how did this person miss and this other person get in?
Right.
And so again, it all comes down to campaigning, financing, the actor themselves. There's a narrative sometimes that you can create.
Okay, can I ask you a question with that?
Sure.
Like, what if some type of behind the scenes rift happens between two different actors, and then look at me like creating this whole scene, and then they get everyone on board. No one's gonna vote for them. Like,
well, that happens. I mean, that's a conversation that sometimes happens when, an actor's behavior, or whether they're problematic. The year that Casey Affleck won for Manchester by the Sea, there were sexual misconduct rumors and then allegations, and a court case that followed, and that at the time seemed to hurt his chances in terms of being a nominee, but he still was nominated and eventually won that category for Best Actor in that year. And he was up against people like Denzel Washington for Fences, and Ryan Gosling, who was also nominated this year for Barbie, for La La Land. So sometimes there are those narratives, but then there's also the narratives of, okay, well, this person's been nominated, so many times before, but has never won, so maybe this is their time, their due. Or there's the conversation of being the first. One of the most sort of egregious things this year is learning that, Lily Gladstone, who's nominated for Actress in a Leading Role for Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, is the first Indigenous woman in America to be nominated for that category. So there's so many things when it comes to the mechanics and the behind the scenes aspects of marketing and strategy and putting things together, that it almost is an oversight to the performances themselves when you look at the work and you look at what's being nominated. And you have to consider that in the last decade or so, the Academy has been skewering more diverse and younger, so we're getting to see more international films nominated in categories outside of international film, and we're also seeing films that maybe 10 years ago wouldn't be considered for Best Picture or Director or an acting prize. And that's also very exciting, because the definition of an Oscar movie is usually someone playing a historical figure and through improv and interpretation, and you see that in terms of makeup and sort of putting on a funny accent.
We have so much more to talk about in regards to the Oscars. We're gonna find out some nominations. We're gonna find out who you think should have been nominated and wasn't. And then later on in the show, we'll be going over to hot movies to look for 2024. We'll be right back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life.
My mother said we had to leave home. The communists were going to take my father away. If my parents were afraid, they didn't show us. But we would never forget our escape from Vietnam. We were lost.
What was your job in Vietnam?
University professor.
We had no home.
Do you have any family in Canada?
No, sir.
Nobody wanted us.
Welcome to Canada.
Canada chose us.
Canadians open their borders, their homes, and their hearts to more than 100,000 refugees fleeing persecution after the Vietnam War.
We were home.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I have Eric Merchant in the house, who is a film critic, and he is also the host of Cinema Scene. I always want to make sure I get that right. Cinema Scene on Rogers TV.
Same with me.
Okay. You sometimes get your own show wrong.
Oh, no, well, there's so many of them now. It's like, okay, is it Cinema Scene in Review, or is it Cinema Scene Themes? It's like, it just feels like, okay, which one am I working on this week? So.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
You have lots of things going on.
It's always exciting, you know, to talk to you. Like, I always love doing this, especially with the award season and, you know, wrapping up the year. And it's nice to talk about, you know, the films that you appreciate, but also get the perspective of, you know, there are so many other movies that are being nominated or being made and what people are interested in.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we are talking about the Oscars, which are taking place on March the 10th. Can you let me know, let our audience know who has been nominated, what actors and actresses have been nominated for Best Actor, Actress? Yeah,
so this year is an interesting one because you have a nice kind of balance, it seems, of both sort of critical acclaimed movies, but also sort of more commercial fare. And I think when it comes to, say, the acting categories per se, you have a couple of races here where, you know, you have Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, who is working with Alexander Payne again after Sideways, which was back in 2004. And so those two reunited for this kind of Christmas-esque movie set in 1973, and it's sort of about a boarding school of boys that have been left, you know, to defend for themselves basically in this one sort of teacher that's looking after them. Giamatti is a classic character actor who's been working for decades now, only nominated once before for Ron Howard's Cinderella Man, so there's a narrative there of him being due and maybe not appreciated compared to some of his other work that he's delivered that's also been worthy of awards consideration. In that category, his biggest competition is Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, a film that's been nominated for 13 awards, the most this year, and one of the most nominated films of all time. And so that is an interesting conversation to have because it seems like Oppenheimer is going to sweep in a lot of categories because there's a lot of technical sort of craft that people, when they see it on the screen, they look at it and be like, okay, this is, you know, this has great cinematography, sound design, direction. You can see it all on the screen. So people will flock to that. So there might be some thinking there, well, do we want to give Oppenheimer everything? Do we want Oppenheimer to sweep in every single category? Because it's probably going to also win Best Supporting Actor for Robert Downey Jr.
Wow,
Who's competing against people like Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon and Ryan Gosling for Barbie. And so, you know, with a film like that, you kind of want to spread the love a little bit. But I do think it's going to be an Oppenheimer-centric award show where you'll hear that movie named multiple times. So that Best Actor category will be very interesting in terms of, you know, that showdown between the two. And that's something as well that people like to create the narrative around. It's this competition between the two actors or, you know, the five. And sometimes that's not the case in reality, but it's something that we want to create because it makes it more exciting, you know, to have that conversation.
Yeah. Okay, what about female actresses?
Yeah, so Divine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers has been winning every single award up until now, so I think she's a pretty safe bet for Best Supporting Actress. And what a wonderful performance. She gave more to the role than what was written in Alexander Payne's film, and there's this moment near the end of the movie, and it kind of plays like a short film where she reunites with her sister and her family. That's so beautifully done and so nuanced that you can't help but fall in love with the character and the work that she does in that movie. For actress in a leading role, I mentioned in the past segment that Lily Gladstone's been nominated for Killers of the Flower Moon, but her biggest competition is another actor with the name Stone in her name, and that's Emma Stone for Poor Things, which is kind of a quasi-Frankenstein-esque story with a deadpan comedy bent from Yorgos Lanthimos, the director of The Favorite, who he worked with Emma Stone before. Emma Stone gives one of the most complex and richly in-tune performances that evolves over the progression of the film. So when you're watching Poor Things, you're seeing Bella Baxter, her character, evolve in such a succinct way and observing the world and becoming more enlightened by what the world has to offer. It's a very macabre and gallows movie at times, and that might turn some people off, but the performance is so strong. But the thing that's kind of going against Emma Stone in this case is that she already won an Oscar not too long ago for La La Land. So it might seem like, okay, well, do we want to give her another award so soon after that particular win back in 2016?
And because it's different actors that are putting in these nominations, the thought process is totally, well, she's already had one.
Exactly.
Let's spread the love, as you said before.
Honestly, though, I do think that, and I love La La Land, this is her crowning achievement as an actor. This and the TV show The Curse. She's doing some really weird and wonderful stuff, and you got to appreciate that.
I'm going to have to see the movie. All right, we'll be back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life, and we'll be talking about movies for 2024. Stay tuned.
These days at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdsville, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. In 2008, carbon monoxide, a deadly invisible gas, killed an entire family in our province. That tragedy led to a new law requiring homes with potential CO sources to have alarms. John Gignac's family members passed away that day, and he shares his story to save others.
Please make sure you have working CO alarms in your home. Protect your family today.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I have Eric Marchant in the house, film critic, and he is also the host of Cinema Scene, and we've been talking about the Oscars, and now we're going to be talking about films for 2024. Now, we had the actors, it was an actors and writers strike?
It was both, yes.
It was both. So how did that strike affect movie production?
It had a huge impact on productions, and the studios had to realize that you need to pay your writers, you need to pay your actors for the work that they do. You need to compensate them, especially in the world of streaming and in the world of sort of that long-term sort of gross when it comes to, Blu-rays, DVDs. It's a long-term sort of process. Like, it's not just simply, you pay somebody for just the work that they're doing in the moment. A movie that someone makes has long-term effects when it comes to, even just being bought for syndication or for television. So that conversation and the stuff with AI, in terms of taking somebody's likeness and using it without consent.
That's scary.
It is, it really is. And so that was a conversation that was being had and debated, and over the course of a big chunk of 2023, you saw a lot of films that were going to go into production for last year that were going to be released this year get delayed. And then you also saw a lot of films that were supposed to come out last year also get delayed because the studios needed the actors to push the film in terms of the campaign, the press junkets. You need a Timothée Chalamet to promote Dune Part 2. You need actors to kind of come out and say, hey, support my movie, see my film. You need a Tom Cruise to do that.
So they would have been, let's say, available before, but some actors would have been, well, I had this planned a year from now, so now I'm doing this.
Exactly. That's the other really key thing here is scheduling. Scheduling conflicts are always a really tough part even without a strike. You know, you have to find a pocket of time in an actor's schedule in order to accommodate them, especially if they're a big name, you know, and you know, it's not just one actor, it's multiple actors. And then on top of that, you also have a crew that you have to make sure, okay, well, I want this particular person to shoot my film, or I want this particular person to edit my film. Are they available? You know, because there are other commitments that people have.
So if not, that could change and it could change your funders too all of a sudden, right? Then the money is out.
Independent productions, when you go to financiers, you say, hey, I have this package put together with these stars and this director and this location, and we're shooting on this, between this date and this date, and will you fund my movie? And it's like, yes, I will, based on what you've given me in terms of stipulations. But then when that changes and an actor has to drop out and you replace them, well, the person that's financing it or funding it, it's like, well, no, I base this on this particular person
so
being
you're
in
going
the
to have
film.
to find someone else now.
Yeah, so there's so many intricate little nuances when it comes to how the industry works on the business side of things, that when you have, you know, a big name filmmaker like, say, Quentin Tarantino, whose last film, his 10th movie, was supposed to shoot back in the fall of 2023. It gets delayed, and now it's not shooting until 2025. And that might also partly be because of, okay, well, the actors that he wants for the film aren't available. Or you get a film that was shooting, like the new Mission Impossible movie, the second half of Dead Reckoning, that gets delayed because you don't have the writers, you don't have the actors, you can't do anything.
Right, okay, so can you give some examples of some movies that are finally coming out in 2024 because of the delay in 2023?
Well, the film that's coming out very soon is Dune Part 2.
Okay.
That was supposed to be a November release last year, and it was going to be a big awards push. It's following up a film that's made billions of dollars worldwide. People are excited, they're anticipating it. It's finally now coming out because of that delay, and that shuffle has changed quite a bit. Now, Warner Brothers has a lot of problems right now when it comes to, you know, supporting the artists outside of the strike. There's a whole conversation to be had about David Zaslav and what he's doing as the CEO over at Warner Brothers Discovery, in terms of, you know, even releasing certain films. But that shuffle of putting Dune into 2024 has also moved a number of other Warner Brothers movies down the line. So Bong Joon-ho, the director of Parasite, his follow-up to that movie with Robert Pattinson, Mickey 17, was supposed to be released this spring. It's been delayed indefinitely. What does that mean? Who knows?
Okay. So we only have a minute left. What are some quick, these are the movies to look out for in 2024? So we got Dune Part 2.
Dune Part 2, I think, is going to be the big one. You have a lot of sort of summer movies that will, we only have one Marvel movie this summer, which I think is very interesting, one MCU film, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. And
cool.
That is going to be hopefully the rebirth of the MCU, because it's struggling right now. So you're bringing in Ryan Reynolds and you're teaming him up with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
It's gotta be good.
It's gonna be a big deal. And so you're also bringing in other Marvel characters from the entire MCU, and there's going to be a lot of surprises and speculation to who's going to pop up. So I think that's going to probably be one of the biggest films of July.
We have about 10 seconds. Last movie?
Steve McQueen's Blitz, a World War II movie.
Look out for that one too. Thank you, Eric. It's always so great to have you on the show.
Always great to be here.
We'll be back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life. Stay tuned.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
Hi there, I'm Eric Marchand, host of Cinema Scene in Review. Join me each month as I recap all of the newest films in theaters and at home. See you in review.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. So at the end of the show, I like to pull a card, or sometimes more comes out, for inspiration to assist us with the current energy of the week. 2 cards came out from my Luminous Humanist deck. The first one is Naturally High. And so the message that comes from this card is, rather than going to substances to help you to feel better, you know, whether it's sugars, caffeine, alcohol, drugs, to find the joy and the satisfaction in not needing that, right? To know that you can be happy and you can feel good in what is going on in your life without it. But this is very interesting because 2 cards came up, and the second card is give us this day our daily cake. And this is like a beautiful depiction of this gorgeous, decadent dessert. So I feel like the overall message then is about having the balance within it. Yes, it's okay for you to enjoy, for you to indulge, but making sure that you also have that balance of, let's say, getting your greens in and fueling yourself with good foods, and having downtime from needing to, let's say, have coffee, right? So yeah, the overall message is finding that balance, allowing yourself to indulge, but fueling yourself with the goodness and having that natural high. So something that I also want to let you know is 2 days after the Oscars, going back to the topic from today, 2 days after the Oscars, the movie Poor Things is going to be available on Blu-ray. And this movie, it's a comedy horror, and it's about a female Frankenstein. So something to keep your eyes open for that. If you are interested in being on the show, you can send us an email, uxbridgescugog@rci.rogers.com. And guess what? We will be back next week with more. So make sure you get yourself dialed in. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Ever wonder what stood right behind me 150 years ago? Here in Pickering, at the northwest side of Brock and Highway 7, stood the Brome Central Hotel. Today, this historic commercial enterprise is housed here at the Pickering Museum Village. Originally a home, this 2-story building became a temperance hotel in 1850.
We prepared your usual private room.
Hey, thank you. I'm sure I'll sleep soundly tonight.
It was a resting place for travelers, and for 2 shillings,